Sensex has gained close to about 350 points. The stock which is currently on our radar is Escorts. Yesterday it made a big up move, 18.5% rally, taking it to a fresh 52-week high, and it's added on some more weight, up 3.5%. Bharat Madan, the group financial controller at Escorts, now joins in. Good morning and thanks for joining in. First, the monsoon picture is still pretty bleak. Today's report suggests that the monsoon deficiency has risen close to about 12%, with areas like Marathwada and Maharashtra showing you a deficient monsoon of more than 50%. What can we expect by way of tractor volumes in Q2 after the 16.5% decline in volumes that we saw in the prior quarter?
I think we believe the volumes in Q2 will continue to see a degrowth. I think it will be something similar to what we see in Q1. So only sentiments we see getting improved will be in Q3 onwards. So Q2 we expect it will be a degrowth of somewhere around 14 to 15%.
Okay. No, that point is taken. The first quarter and the second quarter would behave similarly, I would assume. But how are things likely to look in the second half? Are you getting a sense that you will trough out this quarter?
Yeah, so like I said, in Q3 there are three reasons. One, the base effect obviously will set in because from last year October the industry started declining. And second is the all festive season is now getting shifted to Q3. So those two factors obviously will play a major role in terms of deciding the volumes for the third quarter. And obviously a lot will depend on how the monsoon really pans out. So we've still got one more month of September to look at. And last year we saw a lot of catch up on the monsoon front actually happened in September. So if this time also we see that catch up happening, so maybe you will see a very good kharif output happening. So as it is, the area under sowing has gone up. So I think that's one positive sign which we see. So if you see the making of rain happens in September, probably Q3 will give a very bullish quarter.
Okay. When you say bullish in Q3, could you give us a sense of what the volumes could look like? Any range? Any numbers?
Yeah, so we said it can actually see a growth of almost 15-20%.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Would your margins look considerably better since there is a steep fall in commodity prices?
Yeah, so we saw the effect coming in Q1 also. So we got a 1% benefit on because of deflation on commodity price, and that trend is continuing in Q2 also. But in Q3, if we look at the volumes started going up, probably there will be some pressure on the commodity prices, and the same deflation trend may not continue. But obviously there will be impact on the volume. So the economies of scale will definitely come into play at that time.
Okay. Do you have a debt component? Is there anything that positive in terms of lower financial leverage?
Yeah, so we are our debt equity is pretty low. We are almost at 0.2, 0.25 times. So I think in terms of debt is not really high. So we got that leverage obviously to play on.
What is the connection between monsoons and tractor buying? I would assume that tractors are bought by relatively well-off farmers. So does one irregular monsoon or two make influence their decisions so much?
Well, that does impact the sentiment of the people. So obviously, especially the areas which are totally rain dependent for irrigation. So there the dependency is a lot. But there are areas like in the north belt where it's not really rain-fed areas. So there the dependency on monsoon in terms of driving sentiment is slightly lower, I would say. But yes, it does impact the sentiment and the mood of the public generally at large.
Okay. Sir, this is just a more medium-term question. When I compare Escorts, say, to a peer like M&M, your market share would be at 10-11%, whereas something like an M&M would be at 40%. M&M operates at double-digit margins, whereas you're operating at close to about 6% in the quarter gone by. What steps is the company taking, A, to improve margins, as well as the market share close to your peers, and move up the chain?
Like on the margin front, we have been talking about, we are taking a lot of initiative on the cost side. So I think we'll see the impact coming in from Q3 onwards. We'll see the margin expansion will start actually happening. So if we get a little of play from the volume side with the industry slightly moving up, so that will obviously be a bonus for us. So we'll see actually this year we are expecting probably the margins will improve. So we'll see 2-3% margin expansion happening on the tractor business in this year. As far as the market share is concerned, I think this if you look at the trend in the last 10-12 years, the market share movement within the players has been very, very insignificant. So it's 2%, 3% movement maximum here or there. So I think we had done a lot of initiatives on that front, both in terms of channel expansion, opening new areas, introducing new products. So let's see, I think we are making all our efforts. So let's see how the market share move going forward.
So what's your sales growth expectation, second half over first half, you think?
So second half, we expect there will be a growth of almost 15% over last year. So it will virtually lead to almost a flattish sort of numbers for this full year. But if it to be on an optimistic side, if the monsoon really catches up in September and the sentiments really improve, then you can probably on the upside look at maybe 3-4% growth happening in overall on the full year basis.
Okay.
All right.
Just one final question. I know tractors is a majority of your business, but construction equipment, there seems to be a lot of traction. Could you give us a sense of how the year is panning out in terms of revenues as well as profitability for the construction equipment space?
Well, on construction, we don't expect much hope actually. So this is the 5th year in succession we are seeing the industry going down. And so far Q1 was bad and Q2 also it doesn't really look improving. But there are two sectors which we see some traction start happening in the road segment and the mining segment. And we're not very strong play in the mining segment. In road we are seeing some movement which has started happening. So Q3, Q4 are again the better quarters for the construction equipment industry. So we'll again have to wait and watch. But as of now we don't see major visibility in the numbers coming in on the equipment side.
All right, we leave it at that, Mr. Madan. Thank you very much for joining us with those details. Some hope for the second half, maybe, for the tractor sector. 15% growth in the second half. Well, one could take it with both hands after so many quarters of flat or even declining performance.